So hello everyone, if anyone is in here, because I was not streaming for like past I don't know how long, so yeah, I decided to kind of organize my stuff and to start streaming relatively regularly, I believe, once again. And it's kind of because Michalski Art, Roman Michaliska, wrote to me on Instagram that he really enjoys the streams and everything. And it kind of like motivated me to like organize the stuff that I have to organize. So shout out to Michaliska Art, and yeah, check out his artworks, really cool stuff. And also he did a small redesign of an imp, I believe, from Heroes of Might and Magic 3, which is really cool game. Like, I don't know how many years ago I started actually doing some redesigns from Heroes 3. I did like a Wraith, Spectre or something like this, like the ghost with something, and the zombie, and I finished there. So yeah, the Diablo theme is definitely going better, but not as good as I hoped it would go. So just go and follow him, and also I will put a link to his profile in the description after the stream finishes. So yeah, today I would like to continue on the Slayer redesign, on the Slayer illustration, because I wanted to push it as far as humanly possible for me. And now I really don't want to do it. I kind of want to just like wiggle with it a little bit more and call it a day. But the really cool thing is, like 1 month ago when I was doing this guy, I asked some of my friends to make a paint over for it so I could learn something new, so I can like get an input on it and I can see if I just like can improve on it somehow. So the first guy who did the paint over was Reynaldo Roja. We had an Artstream with him. Reynaldo. Now I don't remember if it's CH or H. I think CH. So thanks, Reynaldo. And this actually was one of the best paint overs that I got, because I was expecting something that will be like really casual, like he will just make a paint over and like, as I said, call it today. But he actually called me and he explained to me everything like during like an 1 hour call, when he was just basically teaching me how he's doing art and everything and how to approach it. So the first thing that he mentioned was to work more on general shapes. So basically he told me that I should think on the character design more in like a uniform manner. So to kind of seek for the continuity of different lines, so they in the end will look better. In this case, he made an example based on the entire body that later will basically develop the entire sketch. But the main idea was like, let me turn on the smoothing real quickly. The basic idea was, if the entire like body is like this, then I should like go in and search for like some like ways to make some incisions and everything to kind of like develop the silhouette a little bit more, but still the general shape will be like really pretty much the same. In my case, I was kind of like trying to go with some like different lines, with some like blobs, but it was like not really holding together as a really big shape. So definitely this was a really cool tip. And again, this is something that I pretty much know, but I just forgot about it. And sometimes you just need someone to remind you of like the really basic stuff, and then you can really improve. Also, he was kind of explaining to me how he kind of approaches drawing the arms and everything. And again, this is the stuff that I am aware of, but I'm just simply forgot about them. So maybe the next monster I will actually firstly construct out of basic solids, and then the next monster is a skeleton, so I won't do it. But if we will get a little bit more meaty demon or whatever, then I might do something like this. So basically this is how he approaches his artworks, or at least how he perceives his artworks. So yeah, just doing and building everything with like a blobs and stuff like this. Also, he was explaining a bit to me about the shadows, and soon I will show you how to do it. Also, a really cool stuff was explained regarding the shoulder armor, because again, extremely simple like idea that a shoulder armor basically is a cylinder and a sphere in here. So if you want to actually draw the armor on it, just think about everything as a planes. So this way it will be much easier for you to actually navigate on your values and on everything that you are going to draw. So for example, if we have like a light source from here, like a top right corner, then of course this area will be most lit. This area will be slightly darker. Well, now there is a little bit too much of the smoothing. This area will be a little bit darker again, and this area might be a bit brighter if we take into account that, for example, like this plane, let's say this is number A, that this plane is like this, then no, this plane goes like this, then this goes like this. Let's say this is B. So this one, B, is actually the brightest, then it goes down and again goes up. So the light direction actually leads these two planes the most, so they will be like the brightest. And the stuff with like planes like this, again, they will be a bit darker because they are not directly lit by the light source. They are like not perpendicular. So this way it's really easy to like maintain what you are actually trying to render. And then after you like establish the light source and everything, then you can like blend it and you can work on your materials, because the idea is pretty much exactly the same. And again, this is something that I am really well aware of, but I just forgot about it. And hello Zirtam. Yeah, long time no see. So this was actually extremely informative, especially since I was not really expecting like the feedback like this to happen in the first place. And in here he also explained to me how he constructs the entire body, how he thinks about the lines, how he connects the anatomy, how he builds the, let's say, the thigh from the boxes, from like a really simple geometry, with the things like pinching and stretching. So for example, the body on the left side will be pinched because he is like doing this movement with the arm up, and the left side will be like stretched because he is doing like this movement. So in here we have like the pinching type of a thing, and in here we have like the stretch type of a thing, which is again extremely cool. Sometimes you just need to like remind yourself of some other stuff. One of the actually best things that he told me was how to simplify drawing a knee. And this scheme is so extremely easy. I have no idea how I never like seen it previously. Basically, if you have like a bone from the thigh, and then you have like a bone from the tibia, I believe, and then you have this like this small bone in here, basically on a human butt, and in here you have this bone that really hurts if you hit it. I have no idea how it was called. Basically, this thing protrudes, this thing protrudes, this thing protrudes, this thing protrudes, and this is how you draw a knee. 4 like bulges and 1 main bulge, and yeah, the rest is the history. Extremely easy way to draw a knee. And the next level is just to like be aware of the tendons, where they like attach and how they go, how the muscles like kind of overlap and everything. But the basic idea is like in here. So this was definitely one of the coolest tips I ever got, especially since drawing knees is really hard. I think this is one of the areas where you really need to like use a lot of references to make them look good, because knees are just hard. So in here he was kind of building a little bit more on top, and also he was explaining to me the idea of building a silhouette on the circles. So you can have like one main blob, and then you can have the second main blob for like, let's say, the body, and then where it connects, it will like allow you to create the entire silhouette really nicely, which is really cool. This is like the tutorial with the owls. I strongly believe everybody have seen the tutorial with the owl. So just draw a circle and draw the rest of the fucking owl. And in here just draw 2 circles and draw the rest of the demon. So yeah, it really works. A really cool stuff was also about the anatomy that he mentioned. How, for example, the sculptures approached it. So he was also overpainting on it, like showing me how the flow was going on, and yeah, pretty much that. But also I kind of forgot that you could use sculptures as references. They are like really great in terms of being a reference, especially since a lot of like sculptors have like over the top knowledge about the anatomy, and they know how to like synthesize every information and make it like look really nice. So yeah, this is this. And the next thing that he has done was to cover the topic about the shadows, because I was kind of struggling with the shadows. Let's show you mine. Mine is like kind of flat, like the shadow is from the top. You can really see a shadow from like the head, but nothing really interesting is happening on the rest of the body. And he took care of it, and he simplified the shadows to like a really strong graphic shape. So this way, if you look at the painting from the like distance, it actually makes a lot of sense. So the shadows read, it allows to group the areas really nicely. It reduces the areas that you need to paint, because in the shadow most likely you will have much less detail. So for example, this entire lake could be like a flat, almost flat shape in a shadow. And the best thing that I absolutely completely missed is the shadow from the silhouette on the wing. I have no idea how I have missed it. Like, I know things cast shadow, but I forgot the arms cast shadow on a wing. I do believe it might be because drawing wings is just hard for me, but the thing with the shadow on a wing is actually the best thing from this overpaint. Like, this was one of the things that I was really missing. And also he made some points about the background, so it should be a bit, well, not this one, it should be a bit darker, so the entire silhouette can stand out a little bit more. And also in here he was kind of like explaining to me some colors and values. So unfortunately you cannot see the values, but if I go with it like this, then it kind of makes a little bit more sense. So in the light you will have like really bright values, and in the shadow you want to really go with something that is barely visible. So for example, this metallic part that I have in here should be pretty much barely visible in the black and white areas. It's especially visible in here. So if we go to the black and white, you can see, you can barely notice something is happening in here, but it clearly has a different color. But the value to this color is pretty much exactly the same. So this is why I think this overpaint was like extremely good and was extremely valuable. And definitely something like this is great. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of, but again, this is like just to showcase the shadow area a little bit more, is the overexposed body. But this is like not the main topic of it, so I will definitely keep it as a reference in here, because this is actually how to really improve on this artwork, like without much hassle. Second great overpaint that I got was also done by Nick Acuna, and I'm really happy to be able to like work with him, because what he does was a little bit different than what Reynaldo did. And I also like work with Reynaldo, so he told me that he wanted to go for something else than Reynaldo. But the basic idea was he captured what I wanted to capture, but I had no idea how to actually capture it. So if we compare those two together, and let me just remove the part that does not matter that much. What he did is he decreased the saturation a bit, so the reds are not like this fake gummy red or something like this. He really nicely gave a nice movement to the arm, so it's not like a straight and boring and everything. So I think I might as well do this just like right now, so I won't forget it. So this is basically like select and rotate And I do believe he moved the entire arm a bit more. Well, so I think it should go like this, and maybe I should even, well, maybe I should even kind of like warp it to kind of exaggerate the movement, so it will be also a bit thicker, because if you are drawing a demon, it can, and it should have a thicker arms. The part that I really love is especially the chest area and the vacuumed body, like the vacuumed stomach, because again, this actually captures what I wanted to achieve, but kind of had no idea how to draw it. So the basic idea is, for example, if you mark where the ribcage ends, you can have this really clean line. Then you have like this line in the middle that kind of like dictates the entire body, the line for the abdominal area, and then this like really nice arc of the chest. So now with this one, I can really see that the chest is like really full and pumped, and it just looks nice. I just really like the way the geometry flows in here. And also he gave me some of his brushes, so now I have better brushes to render stuff like this, because in my case it kind of looks like it has like a torn pec or something like this. So it clearly, in my case, lacks this like this arc in this bone in the chest. Let me move the camera a bit lower. What? Okay, this is as low as it can go. This bone sternum was really lacking in my case. And the second thing that I extremely love what he does was the face, because in my case the face is a little bit more chunky, I would say, in a sense, but when I look at it after like a month at it or something like this, it basically looks like this: a dot, square, and two horns. And in here you clearly can see like there is a dot, there is this like a bit more feral type of expression, and some horns. So I would say this one looks a little bit more stupid and more casual. This one looks definitely much more demonic. So this is also the thing that I really liked and that I really would like to incorporate in my painting. So I will add a little bit more like forehead to it. I do believe he made the entire head a bit bigger, or moved it a bit more to the top, because he also made a really cool thing with the traps. So the traps in here are a bit nicer, I would say. So I would kind of like need to move some areas and everything. Let me reduce the smoothing. Well, so this basically, again, tons of problems. Yeah, I shouldn't shave, but recently, yeah, I should. Yeah, but going with it, it should go like this. So the trap is a little bit more prominent, and I think I would make the face with the liquify. So let me just connect the layers so I can constantly see the reference, and go to filter and liquify. And unfortunately you cannot see what is happening in here, but what I want to make now is to kind of match the face to be a little bit more demonic. So this is pretty much exactly what Nick did, and this is like the cool change to make actually the demon the way I wanted him to be in the first place, in terms of like a facial features. It's much more aggressive, much less like intelligent, because I don't want this demon to like be intelligent, I want him to be kind of on the dumber side, but on a really strong side. So he kind of is like a typical demon from a game. He is giant, strong, and stupid. So yeah. And I do believe I can't like really nail down the same emotion as Nick did, but I think I can kind of get close to it. So yeah. And also, as Nicholas said, I shouldn't shave. That is completely true. And recently I have been playing Dark Souls with him for a really long time at the moment. And also in here, this one is kind of contradictory to what Reynaldo said with like the traps where this going like a full circle, but personally I just feel I just prefer this trap to kind of like flow with the jaw line, I believe. So yeah, I think I will kind of deviate from what Reynaldo in here said, because also the thing that Nick did that was really cool was to actually make the delts much bigger. So the delts should be more massive, because if you are like a huge ass demon and you are swinging an axe and trying to kill everything, then your delts will be big. So this is like a natural way of progression for the deltoids. And I really like the fact that he kind of like make it like going like this in here, so like the entire delt is just bigger. And also, since the Nick's anatomy knowledge is really good, is like huge, it makes it, he is able to like make the entire thing much better in a matter of seconds. So yeah, he just knows how to do it. And also I got a third overpaint done by Jakub, as always, because I sent him everything, and he took a little bit different approach because he kind of like redesigned the head, he redesigned the shoulder armor, and he changed the position of an axe. I do like it, but there is something with the general pose that I don't really like, but I'm not sure really what it is. Definitely a cool part is to darken this part of the wing and to keep this like shoulder armor on this a little bit like sharper side in a sense. So you can see how it kind of flows a little bit better into the body of a demon. So yeah, this is my goal for today, to like apply all those overpaints and to continue on this fella, because like why not? Why shouldn't I? And yeah, this is pretty much all. And the thing with this overpaint is it will be extremely hard to implement, because again, for example, Nick knows much better what he is doing when he is like painting all the anatomy and everything, and he just knows better how to make it nice. But recently, also after looking at some files and everything from the work, I have noticed a lot of like one of the artists that we work with has this really cool style where he basically does everything on like a full like opacity type of a thing, kind of like a la Prima, and with really few brush strokes he is able to make like the photorealistic picture. Unfortunately I cannot show you those images, but they were mind-blowing how much photorealism you can achieve just by like using like colors in the right way. It's kind of obvious, but it was not obvious for me that much. And also, if you are not sure if you are doing the thing properly, remember that you can always like put one piece over the other to see how it is different. So in my case, you can clearly see this area needs to be a bit more prominent, And actually moving this shoulder armor should not happen that much, so I will move it slightly back. Well, I will move it slightly back, and this way I can like really compare and see like the fine details that he has done, for example, in here. So he kind of changed like the outline for the demon, and yeah, the really cool part also, he shortened the muscle belly. In my case, the muscle belly is like really long, which is kind of stupid because the muscles kind of like don't work that way. They should like shrink when you flex them, and this demon definitely is flexing his muscles. And then the next part is he made the forearm much more massive, and this is pretty much exactly what Reynaldo did with like this overpaint of this like being kind of like a chicken forearm type of a thing with the fist in here. So yeah, definitely a thing that I could improve upon. Before I start like really rendering and before I start commenting to everything, to commit to everything, let me also move it like in here, so I have one duplicate that is on the side and one that is in here. Before I will start like rendering and cleaning everything up again, I would like to establish the shadows, as I said that I want to establish them. So yeah, and also as always, if anyone has any questions or something like this, feel free to ask. And if you have any type of an artwork that you would like me to see and maybe comment upon, also feel free to share them. I'm more than happy to actually do so, because as you can see, in this case, like sharing is caring, overpainting is caring, and maybe I will be able to help some of you the way Nick and Reynaldo and Jakub helped me. So who knows? But yeah, this is definitely a really cool stuff. And I can even imagine, like, as I said, this part of a wing being completely in the shadow. And in this case, I won't make the shadowy part much more saturated. I kind of want it to just be darker because the overall like ambient light is relatively dark. So yeah, but as you can see, the pecs of the demon that Nick did are just like nice and full, and yeah, I shouldn't seem that much about the pectorals, pecs of a demon, but hopefully you can see what I mean by it. And again, as always, if you are like drawing something and you want to like maintain better visual, like clarity on it, remember to like rotate the image from time to time, because it will kind of like refresh the way you are looking at it, which is extremely important if you are going to do something for like a longer period of time. Whoops. I kind of forgot how it is to draw and talk at the same time, so yeah. But considering everything also that is happening in the life is going all in a good direction, it's really cool. So yeah, now the only thing that is left to like manage is to again try to work on the streams a bit more. So he made this area really nice. This is like extremely hard area to draw because it consists of like a lot of different small muscles, because there is like this serratus anterior and everything, and this area is just weird to draw. So I'm kind of happy I can like hide a lot of it in the shadow. I know this is like not the best way to actually progress with your skills and everything, but yeah, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, so it will like look better in the end. But what I really like are those like lines in here that kind of indicate the connection of the muscles, and yeah, also the small part of the serratus is visible in here. But the way the Nick have done the stomach area, this is really the best stuff in here. And now I'm also not sure about this part. Like maybe I should keep it as Reynaldo said, to give it a little bit more like this, because it, like his point kinda also convinced me to like, keep everything a little bit more uniform. So maybe the demon will still have like a huge traps. So yeah, but let me check. But this will kind of force me to make to move the head a bit. Well, and because if we want to have huge drops, then sphere, shoulders, sternum type of a thing, head in here, going a little bit to the front because of the neck and head, and then in here in the back there will be like traps connecting to the back of the head, so there will be like a lot of mass happening in here. So I do believe I do have to move, or actually make the entire head a bit bigger. Maybe move it a little bit more to the side and to the front. So there will actually be like some space for the muscles to like attach to the demon. So what is really cool about this piece is it is really testing ground for like a lot of different skills, because it really allows me to like look at everything with a little bit different, in a different way, in a sense. So yeah, it's definitely one of the pieces that will teach me relatively a lot, and that are really fun to do in the first place. And now I kinda don't think that I will manage to like make the entire challenge as I intended to make it in like a year, to finish every single monster like by the end of this year, because of how I've decided to kind of progress with it. But we will see how it will go. But okay, now I do believe I need to incorporate a bit more light on the chesticles. And also one of the coolest things that recently I have discovered is to change flow of your brushes. It makes the like night and a day difference in terms of like rendering and smoothing everything. So if you're like having problems with smoothing your brush strokes and your brush work, the flow option is the real MVP for it. So yeah, let me just work a bit more on the pecs. And also he made this really cool stuff, like maybe it's accidental, but those like lines that you can see because I'm painting it in the wrong place, those like lines behaving like this, I really dig this type of a shape in a pec. So it's not like a really perfect pec in a sense, but it has this like natural feel to it. Maybe the head can go like here. Yeah. Time to reconnect it. So yeah, And they're really cool also. But the thing with the flow and the opacity is if you reduce the flow, then it's much harder to like actually cover the big area with the brush. So just keep it in mind. It will be hard to like really feel the empty gaps. The really cool part also is the clavicular portion of the demon, because as you can see, Nick did like really sharp type of a thing in here with like the small spot of light in here, kinda like making the sternum overlap the like the top part of it, which is really cool. I really dig how it looks like. And it also makes this bone in here to like really protrude and also have this like cut in here that kinda like separates the top pectoral muscle. Also in here you can see the start of flow reduced, the really cool start as Nick did it, start of top part of a pectoral muscle, so it is like kinda divided. And also in here you can see that he is kind of painting in a direction of the fibers. So he basically paints everything as the fibers, like how the fibers go with the flow and everything. So yeah, this is really cool. And it basically can save you like quite a lot of time, because like it will naturally guide the eye on the surface of the area you're painting, because you are like showing the form with the brush strokes, which again is really cool. It is a really smart approach actually to paint, because you can use less brush strokes and show much more form because of it. And one of the things that I see also Nick did that I want to do is to add a belly button to the guy. I do believe the demons are born in a less casual way, so I think actually giving them like a belly button is not a proper thing in a sense. I do believe they can have something that kind of like reminds of a belly button, but I don't think it should be in there. Yeah, but the way he did the amp area is absolutely mental for me. If I could, I would just like copy it and paste it in here just to like have it done nicely, not done it as I do it. But this is not a point to just have a good and nice image. The point is also to learn something. So yeah. And he also did a little bit more of the shadow on the quads and kinda gave a little bit more light to them, so they look a bit nicer. And with the demons like being really shredded, I don't know if it is like a proper thing to do, but I do believe like if you are a demon, and most likely you are like eating only meat, because like you are a demon, you eat innocent and guilty people, you are there to like kill a lot of stuff, and you're constantly like wearing heavy stuff, and most likely you have to like show the dominance through the physical attributes. I do believe vast majority of the demons would actually be shredded to the bone. So yeah. The belly button thing. Yeah, it's like it's a funny thing, because sometimes when you see a design, you can clearly see someone like just went with what seems natural, but it's not really a justified thing to be. So, well, again, I forgot about stuff like this all the time. So in here, I can only be thankful to like the guys who gave me the overpaint because I could focus on like small things. They took care of the general vibe of the painting for me, and they really like improved on it in the areas where I felt I cannot improve because I like reached my limit. So yeah, this is cool. And also now I kind of need the fist, okay, of what Nick did. And also with the forearms, a cool trick is if you don't know what to draw or paint, just draw some veins and add a bicep vein because it's always there. And yeah, you will have like quite a lot of details. And after, I do believe, after you prove yourself being stupid as I did just now, you have to like repaint part of the wing because you just connected the layers together. Way to go, champ. Yeah. Hooray for me. What I would like to do now is to actually light it a bit more. So there are like two ways that I know that make quite a lot of sense. So let me show you two of them. One of them is to make a duplicate that is a bit brighter, and to make a duplicate that is a bit darker. So of course you could just paint it. It will be like completely valid thing to do. But with the darker one, I move the like middle slider to the side because it kind of makes the colors a little bit more vibrant. So the saturation will increase. As you can see, the really dark one, even if I move it like here, the reds changes from like being like really pale to really saturated, like a really deep red. But I want the entire thing to be a bit darker and not too saturated, so I just like try to search for like a good dark demon. You could also go with the curves, they are under Control M, and you could like try to reduce the light part, so you will kind of like remove some lights from it. You cannot see the window, but yeah, this is basically it. So now in here I can just connect the demon, create a mask, invert the mask, and now what I can do is I can just paint on a mask and unmask the darkened demon. So this way I can really quickly create a really nice looking shadow with really uniform colors to them, because now I don't actually need to like worry about changing the brush settings, the opacity, and like stuff like this. Now I can just like paint. So yeah, if I will go like really sharp with it, then it will give me like a really uniform way. And the fact that this is a mask allows me also to like really modify everything that I have in the mask. So for example, this horn is shadow from this one. Maybe it should be a bit lower in here. This horn is like in here, or maybe no, in Reynaldo this horn, I believe, yeah, this is the shadow of a horn from the head, I do believe. I also want this part to be in the shadow, and the shadow in here is a shadow from here, and the shadow, yeah, in here is the shadow from here. So as you can see, adding a shadow to it is like really simple now. And it all comes down to like a graphic design of it. So this is a really cool, neat thing. The thing also is that, for example, this area in here won't be like in a shadow per se. It just will be a bit darker because it's not in a cast shadow, it's in the self shadow. So I think it's called self shadow. But the idea is the areas that have a cast shadow. So for example, you cast a shadow from the arm to the stomach, most likely it will be sharp if the light is not really dispersed, I believe. And the self shadow, so it means the surface stops being like lit, will have like a smoother transition. So for example, the bicep in here, the armor would cast like a sharp shadow on it, but the fact that the bicep will change like the geometry, it will give it like a softer shadow. So yeah, I hope it makes sense. This area is in the shadow. And also it is a really cool thing to make to show a little bit more of the geometry. So all the things that overlap should actually have a shadow that like should cast a shadow. So for example, the armor in here or in here, it would cast a shadow on like one another. So yeah, I hope it makes sense. But it also allows me to like introduce some smaller shadows and everything. And the shadow on the tail, because in my case the tail is much too like red. I don't really like it. I think actually the entire wing could be in a shadow. So if there is anything that Reynaldo taught me was look at the painting from a distance. Like again, this is a really obvious tip, but if you are like looking at something for like a really long period of time, you really do forget about like the obvious things. And in here also the shadow from the axe handle is visible or will be visible on the thigh. So also in here, as you can see, I can make like a really cool looking shadow, or I can suggest a really cool looking shadow. And because the fist is like casting shadow on a crotch, then this, then the rest of the axe will be casting shadow like back there. So maybe something like this would actually happen. So I can make this area a little bit darker and nicer. And yeah, the idea is to like keep the shadows like really uniform. I also really like the detail that he introduced in here, so that the shadow will be created by this muscle that is tied attached to like the side of a knee and goes to the pelvis. So the long story short is this muscle goes like this, and in here it would go like this, and it kind of like divides the quads. I don't remember, or I don't even think I know how it's called in English language, but it's like a relatively long muscle. And it's also really cool when you are drawing like legs and stuff like this. So if you have not this layer, of course, if you have like a leg, it can like really nicely like introduce a nice separation in the legs. And the cool trick with the 5 dots in the knees. But yeah, this line is definitely a really cool line to appear in here. Now I also kind of wish that I had this painting that I kind of do, but as you can see, immediately after like even turning on the shadow layer, it looks just way better. So definitely it was extremely cool trick. And the fact also that if you are working like with this method, what is really cool, it really allows you to like still have a really good control over the shadows, because as you can see, I can go like with the pure black, so we can say he's underground and he's lit with like a really strong lamp. That is really like believable scenario to happen, that when you are underground you are lit with like a halogen or a LED lamp, but this kind of like goes with the exposure to the point where you cannot see any details in the shadow and you can see a lot of details in the light. But I kind of want to go with seeing some details in the shadow, so it won't be like pitch black, but it will be relatively darker. But I still will see quite a lot of details in the light areas. It will also cause the light area to get a bit brighter. So as you can see, if I put those two layers together, now I can kind of like play with different sliders and see if I can find like a middle ground for all the stuff that should be like brighter. So I just made a brighter layer, and now I kind of like put it, well, put it on top. So it kind of allows me to really fine-tune the feeling that I would like to achieve. Of course, the goal is to paint like this, like Wei Wang, but at my level it's currently impossible, so I will do what I can, and we will proceed with it like this. I do believe this shadow looks kind of cool. I could also put it on like multiply, because as far as I know, this is like the only valid method to add a shadow to something, and I might leave it on multiply. It changes a bit in terms of like color, so you can see the brighter areas are a bit brighter, the darker areas are a bit darker, which kind of makes sense. So I will leave it like this, and I will commit to connect everything now. And also I could like leave the shadow layer always on. Also, one of the things that I would like to introduce is the really brighter legs, because as you can see, Reynaldo grouped the light on the legs, on the thighs, with the light on the chest. And it kind of makes sense, because if we were to look at this demon from the side, then like the chest area is like this angle, the stomach is like this, and then again the thighs are like the same angle. So the light, like the value would pretty much be exactly the same, which will tie the entire thing together. And also, if you are like making something brighter in Photoshop, make sure to use overlay midtones, no overlay. Dodge tool set on midtones. It will give you a relatively natural looking effect and won't like overburn your colors, because if you would go to with highlights, then you will get like this burned off thing. With midtones, it will kind of like naturally go to something that is a bit paler. Yeah, so this is like the way. This is Dawa, as Uganda Knuckles said. Yeah, and now when the base is in here, nice and tight and everything, now again I can focus on rendering, because why not? And for rendering also, I downloaded some really cool Kyle brushes, I believe, from Photoshop, and they can do stuff like this. And also, these are the brushes that Nick showed me. They work spectacular. They are great for rendering, and they are great for sketching. So I don't remember the full name of the guy, but Kyle brushes, PS official, and you will see those brushes on their page to be able to be downloaded. They are like actually at the moment my most favorite brushes, especially the watercolor pack. Everything in this pack is like fire. Everything is cool. And to do a rendering or like smooth surfaces, every single brush that I have tried at this point is like absolutely beautiful. So as you can see, for example, maybe we will try using this one on a new layer. Those brushes just have like a different quality to them, and they allow me to like really quickly, really nicely work on some surfaces. And the fact they kind of like react like real paints a little bit adds to the nice feeling of them. But yeah, I definitely need to experiment with them much more, but they are cool. I really highly recommend them. But for this demon, I will try to keep using like the old tested brushes. So testing those crazy good brushes I will leave for another time, because it will like take me a few hours to just search for them. And again, for stuff like the armor, I will just heavily overpaint on it, so I will make sure that the core of the armor is correct. And then like if I will have a really nice light applied to it that is a bit on the proper side, then it will be much easier for me to work on it. And if you don't remember how it should look like, can I see the difference? Of course not, because I turned off. Yeah, and if you don't remember what someone said, then just simply look at the reference that they gave you. So this way it will be much easier, because using references is important and it makes life easier. So don't make your life harder without any purpose to it. And if you have a really neat reference, just use it to your advantage. And the shadow, because also the metallic armor will cast a shadow on it. So yeah, it goes really nicely in here. But also I really prefer the shape that the Jacob did. And I will kind of like implement also the way he was thinking about the armor, because I really like especially those lines in here that they kind of like wrap around everything. Bit more metallic like shit coming out of this area. Also, I feel the head is now a little bit too big, so I will make it smaller. And if I could now, I mean I kinda can, but I don't think I will. I mean, it does not make any sense, because I wanted to say if I could spend the entire day like rendering this guy now, I would definitely would. And I kinda can, but I still have to later make a little bit more work, a little bit more on the things that I am assigned to work on, because today I kinda made a small fuck up, because I was working on a thing that I forgot was reassigned to someone else, and I spent the entire day designing things that other artists was supposed to do. So now we have like double the amount of work that is needed, and because of that I will have to kinda work a bit overtime. So I will like deliver what I was assigned to deliver. But what I'm doing right now is just taking a break from like all the paintings and everything, and trying to paint a bit for the stuff that I want to paint. Those tasks also are really cool, but this is, as always, there are stuff that is cool that you work on, and there is also stuff that is just cool because you want to work on it, because you just decided to work on it. And because of this, I I need to lower the exposure and make it brighter and turn on the navigator. If you don't know how your painting looks like when it's small and you don't really want to like constantly zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, simply open up a navigator. It will make your life easier. And this is like the entire point of like using stuff like navigators. Whoops. Also now after like picking a bit of a sharper brush, I can work on everything a bit nicer. And also the hand, because the fingers in here are lit directly, like the surface is like directly in a way of a light, and the part of the thumb also is. Now I do believe this is like almost ready to be like refined to like a higher degree. So if I were really pro, then I will manage to like proceed from here to like make a really beautiful painting just by painting like on the back without going into all the details and everything. But I am not there yet, so I will need spend a bit more time on the rendering. I feel like I should move this face a bit more in here. So it does not feel so disconnected from everything that is in here. And yeah, I do believe that compared to what I previously had regarding this project on a screen, this is like a night and day difference. Not to sound cocky, but it just looks better. It kind of proves the point that I'm always trying to make. If you have anyone who is like more experienced than you are, just write to them, ask for help. Because again, maybe at some point I will figure everything out that is wrong with this piece, but it will take me 10 times longer and than it took me with actually the input from the friends of mine. So yeah, your life will be just easier. And it's really hard to find a better reference than a nicely made overpaint, because then you are not trying to understand how you can reapply the feedback or how you can reapply the things used somewhere else to your artwork. You can just basically see them. But yeah, remember, every time someone gives you an overpaint, you owe them a beer or something like this. So always try to give something in return. Don't only demand stuff. So for example, you can share memes. They have a high value, especially really good memes like, let me show you one of the best memes of today that I have found. It's a beautiful meme. I do really like it, since it's so stupid, but yeah. And also notice the microphone is in the middle of a circle, because I was kind of tempted to put it like in here to annoy everyone, but it is in the center. It shouldn't be annoying. So a small thing that maybe matters to someone. But I was thinking about you to make the stream to be able to be easier to watch. Also this muscle, maybe we'll create some sort of a shadow. And this shadow should be much more delicate because just on the brighter side. And I know I have not been like streaming for a really long period of time, but again, if anyone has any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask. I will gladly respond to anything, if I can, of course. A bit of a bounce light. Also with the areas like legs, I kind of stopped caring about the anatomy being like so perfect and precise and everything. I would say it has some fat on it. Like, maybe you are crazy shredded, but still, the genetics of this demon make him a bit fatter. Now I'm also not entirely sure if I like the color of this wing, so let me try to kind of see if I can like recolor it. I feel it could be a bit on the more... Ooh, the heavy red looks cool. It could be a bit more desaturated, just slightly, but I think it will be enough, and I think it's enough so I can like start rendering him nicely. So we will actually start with a weapon, because why not? The weapon got absolutely zero love throughout the entire like painting, so now I will like try to make up to it. And we will see if I manage to make this painting look nice and sharp and sexy. At this point, usually if I would just like do this offline, I would just blast some music, turn on the podcast or whatever, and just continue working on it. Because usually, if I can, I tend to not work in a silence. I prefer when something is really happening. So again, if anyone has any questions, I know for a really long time I was not in here, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. It will be a bit easier for me to zone out and to just continue rendering stuff. And also I am rendering with like a really basic brush, like a basic circle, because the guy that I have seen the artworks that kind of blew my mind, I believe did almost everything with like a basic circle, and I was amazed what you can achieve with it if you know what you are doing. And again, this is a bit of a like let's say obvious type of information, that if you know how to like draw and paint, it does not really matter what brush we are using, but still the quality he was able to achieve with just a circle was mad. And hopefully one day I will see some Gumroad from the guy who did it. Unfortunately, I do not know his name, because when I asked like who did those, they only told me that this was like an on-site artist. So maybe one day I will like discover who is this crazy badass with like crazy skills. But the idea was he was painting everything really like it kind of looked like without any problems whatsoever. It was just nice. Like it kind of looked like he was like maybe like reducing the flow of a brush, but everything was like really nicely overlapping. It was just really nice in general. So I will try to imitate it. And one of the things that he did a lot was to like paint with like a really similar value, but with a different color. So in here, as you can see, these are like really similar in terms of value. So basically in black and white, it's like almost a uniform gray. but if you turn on the colors, then you can kind of see the differences happening in here. So this is one of the things that he was doing to an extent of like making things like photoreal because of it. I do believe this is one of the things that heavily contributed to the painting being photorealistic. And I have also no idea how many more parts there will be of this guy. But I just want to make him like really, really nice. Maybe I will actually connect the axe with the overpaint. I did it, or no, okay, I won't do it. I want to be able to turn it off later to compare the effects. So I think it's always a good idea, like if you are drawing or painting something and you're trying to reapply, to apply some like overpaints and to see how it like progresses, just duplicate the entire document and just paint the duplicate, so then you can like really see where you are going with the design and how you are progressing with it. It will be just much more pleasant for you to look at it. So because of it, you can see if you actually made progress in a session of drawing or painting, or if you did not. And also one of the thing is, I really want to like push this guy to the limits, but I don't want to work for like 100 hours on him. So there will be like a finish cap that I would like to achieve. I don't know where it is yet at this point, but I know it is somewhere. But again, I don't know where yet. Well, I will kind of try to achieve the same result as the guy that I was simping about did. And also a really cool thing that he did was how he treated the things that are a little bit like in the background. So for example, like the second arm and everything, he made them really pale. And this actually made the entire thing look really like dimensional in a sense. So you could like see geometry really nicely because of it. You can see what was like in front of what was like overlapping and stuff like this. It was like really, really cool. The horn from the below. And one of the things also that is really important is the neck area, because in here, of course, it is in the shadow, but the thing is there's like a lot of like surfaces the light can bounce off from. So, for example, like even though it is in a shadow and that it is like the main area of focus, I do believe I still should maintain some like light bouncing off. I feel the eyes are not open enough. In here you can see they are made much more angry because this shape is a bit more feral. I feel that I need to like cut this part off, place it in here, and liquefy it so the eyes are a bit more open. I was really proud about those eyes. What I want to do is to open them a bit more. So they kind of also moved in the process, so I need to move them back. Yeah, but I like this emotion much better now. Okay, back to the overpainting I go. And also this is like a thing with like making a really nice art. If you know your light, and if you know your shadows, and if you know how to actually paint light, then you can make everything like be photorealistic 10 times faster. Because with art, and it's really often overlooked, and it's also a really hard thing to master, the more realistic light you will use, with more things you can like get away with. So you don't really usually need to like render everything flawlessly, like to make the tightest render, to make like the tightest details and everything. If your light is on a spot, then everything should look good. And also this is why a lot of animations look nowadays extremely cool, because they do deal masterfully with actually the light. So you don't need like tons of details to make something look photoreal. But the problem is, as I said, is to learn how to like paint those photoreal things. This is where the problems actually begin. And I do believe it just takes years and years and years and years of practice, like to be able to like master such a feat. And exactly the guy that I was simping about did just that. He was not painting a lot of detail, but somehow he managed to make everything look like a photo. And at some point, if everything will be like already out from the project that I'm working on, and the images will be like public, I will gladly like analyze all of them with you, so I could show you what I mean and why I am so in awe of that paintings. A bit more of reflected light on the face, not too much though. So remember, the face is lit back by the bounce light. That is a bit like on the red side, so if you add like a slightly red light to a slightly red skin, it will get much redder, much more red, reddisher. I don't know the word, but you got the point, I hope. Time to make the boy thick. And also one of the things that I really like in some like painting and sketches is this textures and everything. This is a thing that cannot be like in a sense, or is extremely hard to be achieved while painting with like a circle, because the circle has no texture to it whatsoever. So sometimes I think I will just go like right now and go a bit more with like a textured type of a brush. I don't kinda like the fact that mine dude has this like egg-shaped head. And I don't really like the fact that the axe is like starting and ending in this like weird place. It kinda looks like it's starting in the bottom part of the thing, while it actually start in the middle. Or should it start from like this part? It should start from like this part. It does not make any sense whatsoever. So let me take the axe. Connect the slight overpaint of the axe on the axe. And let me just move it. I will first delete it. And then I will like move it. And this actually makes more sense because now the axe is starting in a place that looks like it's proper to be in here. One of the things that I don't really like is the fact that everything in here is like really overlapping each other. I think it could be like treated a bit more in a bit more clearer manner, so I don't have like 1, 2, 3, 4 things overlapping. But honestly, I also don't really know how to solve this problem. So let me just move this guy from the wings and move it like in here. I will like kinda move the entire like well we'll move like the entire wing a bit more to the back, so it will kinda like go under everything, so this like top part horn will be a bit more or a bit betterly, I don't know if it's a word, will be a better, there will be a better separation from it. And this is actually why I somewhere in here had some references for the fist. Of course I did not, so I need to take one. Ugh. I don't know why I want to like yawn. Now what do I have in here that is as thick as the axe handle? Nothing. That is unfortunate. There's a bottle maybe? There is a bottle, but it is too thick. So I will just try to make a photo. In a good way. I also try to mimic the lightning. So okay. I got the photo. And now I needed to send it to myself. And now I also needed to download it. And the thing is, it is not the most important thing to have, but it definitely helps. So even for like small details like the placement of a thumb, because as you can see the thumb in my demon makes no sense whatsoever. He does hold like the entire thing in a really weird manner. And let me use the circle, and even the fact like the small details like the bones protruding and everything, the spacing between the fingers. And the fact that the last finger is basically much further apart. It's also like really crucial. Of course, this is like a demon, so he has like thicker hands and everything. And the hands are always hard to draw, no matter how good you are. The hands are just hard to draw. So, yeah. The opacity. Now I already know the painting this part will be the absolute worst part of the entire painting, because painting hands is just fucking hard. And it does look like shit. So, oh boy. Let me just search for the reference. Axe and bows. Axe and reference. Yeah, if you type axe and hand, bow, sword, hand, sword, reference. Maybe maybe I will find some for the sword. But now nobody seems to pose their hand in a way I do need. Everybody does it from the side. Okay. Also, I think if you are a demon, you don't need 5 fingers. You need 4 fingers. You have thicker fingers. So this is a stretch to say that you need so many fingers. Okay, let's go to the different area. I don't really feel like rendering hands right now. I kinda also feel that I have depleted my mental capacity for like thinking for today. Hello, coffee. Yeah, I'm trying to like improve as much as possible on him, but just today I was able to touch him again after like a month or something like this. And I have not been rendering anything for like quite some time right now, in terms of like monsters and everything. I have been doing a bit more of a drawings and yeah, basically drawings, and was rendering some different topics than this demon. So I wouldn't say it's like a walk in a park. It's definitely not that hard, at this point, but it does still require some mental capabilities from me. Okay, I know what I will do. I will just connect everything together. I will make a duplicate of the monster, of the demon. I will connect every layer with like the overpaint. And now I will just paint on top of it, and then I will like turn it off and on, and I will see how it improves, because sometimes I just see that I need, for example, like in here, to turn off, like to erase some parts from the layer to change the outline of it or to make it sharper, and I can't really do it if I have the layers disconnected. So yeah, it will make the entire thing a bit harder, but not that much. And for metal, actually, if you are like trying to make the metal brighter, then just go for the highlights, because highlights and metal go like really well together. And you will get like a proper metal color and this proper metal shine to it. Now I clicked many buttons and I don't know what is going on. And also the problem with stuff like this is at some point, like, you don't really know what to do in terms of like rendering to push it like further. So for example, in here, of course, I know this is like not really clean and everything, but there is this really hard point where you really need to decide like how much of a rendering you want to do, and to kind of keep it in a stage where you don't overdo it, because if there is something that can really kill a great piece, if you can see that it is kind of like overdone, like where you could like stop 10 hours ago, but someone kept like rendering and rendering and polishing, and in the end everything is so polished, it's just really hard to like look at it, because it's just clean then. So I really need to keep it in mind that I don't want to be guilty of it. So I hope I will be able to like finish this fella in like 2 more sessions or 1 more session, and then we will proceed like the amazing skeleton that we have randomized. So maybe I will like skip on a skeleton, and maybe I will just continue on different demons and just like return back to the skeleton later. Even recently I started finally working on my personal, like, I mean, on personal IP, on my personal IP, let's say it this way, and without much commitment to it, I decided to design a first monster, and it was a skeleton. So I kinda, I guess, like doing this to myself, like From all the cool stuff that I could have drawn, I decided to go with a skeleton. After bitching on skeletons for God knows how long. Yeah, and also this is the thing that you can see. There is a chest, but I don't really feel like rendering it, like cleaning it more, actually affects the binding in a positive way. And also the problem with artworks like the one that I have on as a reference, the Wei Wang painting, is his rendering is so tight, it's so like perfect and flawless and everything, that it's really hard to actually see some tricks like how to achieve certain like feeling or how to achieve a certain way, like how to paint something like loosely and still make it like look photoreal. So this is one of the things that I kinda don't like about referencing paintings like Wei Wang, but it kinda proves the point that it is really hard. That is Brad Rigney also. So maybe I will take something out of Brad Rigney's portfolio. He also does everything like a camera, but at least you can see some brush strokes somewhere. For example, this guy, actually this artwork is like the masterpiece. It's like the MVP of the artworks. So also in here you can kind of see how he renders everything, the brushes and brush strokes and everything. This is actually crazy. But as far as I also know, after like looking at his process videos, he is really thoughtful about every brush stroke that he makes, which is not the case in my case. If there is something that I can say that I am not, is I am absolutely not thoughtful when I am rendering. So maybe this is the way to actually progress with it, to kind of like slow down and try to like improve on it just by like slowly adding brush strokes. Maybe my special brush should be used right now. I really like all the small holes that he makes in a skin. Adds a lot of character to the silhouette. And let me see if he has anything that has abdominal area visible. So I could reference him. This one looks like a photo. This one too looks like a photo. This does not look like a photo, but it's still extremely good. And also Brad Rigney has a Patronite. And actually this is the first Patronite that I am considering like patroning, because supposedly he has like a shitload of different video processes and everything. And if there's someone who knows how to paint nicely, it's Brad Rigney. As you can see, like how tasty everything in here is. So I do think I will be referencing this one too. But like this is the thing, he makes it look so easy. He kind of paints in like this kind of like flashy way, in a sense, like everything you can feel that it is like a skin that is like wet and everything, and it is extremely hard to achieve. Like this is like a really top level of, I thing to do. Maybe like increasing the saturation. Yeah, actually increasing the saturation kind of does the desired trick. I do think he also smudges a lot. So I should also smudge a lot. With... Where's my smudging brush? Here you are. Okay. Maybe, just maybe, I will be able to like add this level of off to it by just like increasing the saturation and the brushwork. Maybe I will make it like look a bit more smooth. And also you can really see how nicely he worked with like areas like this and like this. You can clearly see the texture appearing in there. And the funny part with referencing art like this is you have like the general idea how they have achieved something, but you have no clue how many photo textures and everything they used. So also if you are referencing anything, remember that sometimes, I don't say it is always like this, but sometimes it can be like really a lot of tricks instead of like pure painting skills used. And as far as I know, Bradley uses some photographs in his designs and everything. It was not always the case. He used to like paint all, like everything. At least this is what he told in his Gumroad. But because of the time and everything, to just be faster and more efficient, he decided to like start incorporating photos in his process. And because his basics are like out of this world, he made like a godlike progress while he started using all the photos and everything. I kind of want to achieve like the same level of the light fidelity. Like I kind of want the red backlight to appear in some places, especially in this like abdominal area. I think it looks neat. And to make it like smoothly transition to like this thigh area. Yeah, I like this red. It stays. Also, I do have his brushes, so I might I will try to use them. Because he... Ooh! This is this nice brush that he uses for the texture on the abdominal, I believe. So I might try to utilize it for a bit. Of course, I am vastly not trained with those brushes, because like if you want to utilize some brushes of a cool artist in a like really good manner, then you really need to know and you need to study how to use them, because if you don't know how a brush works, then it does not really matter that you have a brush, certain brush, because it's not the brush that makes all the magic. In this case, it's the magician. And Brad definitely is a magician in terms of art. But I guess at some point I will have to like just leave this guy as he is and just tell him that, okay, you are as good as you could be. Time to move to the next monster, because there's not like not much more sense in like working with you anymore. It's like I learned what I could from you, and I can no longer use you to progress with everything. So I will try to do him as best as I can, and proceed to the next one. But I still do believe I will need a overpaint on the bicep area, because biceps are scary. Really hard to like paint them nicely. Also, painting this like dots and like stuff like this, it's a really neat surface detail. It kind of adds the level of believability to the painting because of it. Let's try to make the armor piece nicer. Also in here he did something that is extremely hard and complex to do, and what I mean by it is to like make a skin tone that goes to like a black skin tone, to blackened skin tone. It's one of the things that I noticed is extremely hard to pull off if you are trying to like render something nicely. And also the thing is that as far as I can see, he has like multiple light sources on this painting, because there's like this really strong light source coming from like the right side that creates the highlight on the face. There is, I believe maybe it is the same light source that creates this like red rim light, this red edge light. There is some sort of a light source from like the left part of from like the left side and the bottom on this guy, and some like general light source from like the top right corner and on the top left. There are like multiple different light sources. It kind of puts this artwork that I am doing to shame, but well, happens. It's hard to make everything be perfect. And also, if someone never seen this video, like Finish Not Perfect, done by, I don't remember the guy's name, James Park, Jace Patrick, something like this, Jason Park, I don't know, I honestly don't remember. There is this really cool video that is titled Finish Not Perfect, and it's all about finishing a painting instead of like making it perfect, which is cool. You should definitely go and check it out. Do he has a brush? He does. That makes a cool metal texture. So as you can see, his metal is like heavily textured, and I want mine to be textured too. And this brush is actually fucking sick. Whoa. It has this like really nice texture to it. Like it looks like it's really old and corroded and everything. And this one does what? And this one does the same thing, but on a smaller scale. Nice. And I don't mind this like guy having like a heavily corroded armor. I do even believe this is how it would look like after like years of being used by this guy. He definitely is not a type that really takes care of his belongings. And funny enough, because recently in a work I have been like rendering metal over and over again. Like I have been doing like some boxes, designs and everything, and there were like a lot of metal elements to them, and it was like metal and metal and metal and metal over and over and over and over again. And now I kind of feel like I don't know how to render metal. Just kind of ironic, but well, it is what it is. And also when I'm painting, I'm trying to like pick on, no, to look at. There was an expression with like pick up something, at, I don't know, at the small navigator stuff that you cannot see because it's a floating window and I am sharing only the Photoshop window. So yeah, there is like a window with navigator that is basically like this big, and I'm still trying to like look if this looks okay. Because this is also one of the things that I have noticed Brad is doing like quite a lot. His paintings read really well when they are like really small, because like he is truly a master of light and shadow. And also he often uses a lot of textures that he later just slightly paints over to like lit them up, and this actually makes like a huge difference on how you perceive the object, because if you see a texture, then immediately it has like this level of believability to it, because we can actually understand it really quickly on what is going on the thing that we are doing. So in here, for example, I do believe adding texture to the armor actually helps it to be much more readable, to be much clearer. And also I do believe soon I will wrap the stream up. Maybe hopefully I will do the next stream on the Wednesday, my dudes, because as I said, I did remove it. Oh no, I did not. And Roman Michaliska, it's kind of funny the surname, Michaliska, said he really does enjoy the stream. So well, time to deliver. And I was also kind of missing the streams because recently I have been gaming for way too much, instead of like putting the proper work into painting and drawing. So it's time to kind of like redeem myself. I mean, I will continue gaming, but I will also continue doing art on a bigger spectrum than I used to do for like several weeks now. So I really felt like playing some games, and now as of course I am playing also a lot of Spellforce 1 Platinum Edition, and I do believe it's one of the best games ever made. As if you never play Spellforce, you definitely should. Game is mad good. And also relatively recently, because like 3 or 4 years ago, the third part came out. It was good, but it was nowhere near good as Spellforce 1. And the reason for it in a big part is the fact that it does not have like the single maps that you can just play with a friend of yours and just level up your own character. There's like a campaign to the game, not much more honestly is happening in there. There is like a versus, but 6 maps only, just kind of like a joke for a game right now. If you have like an RTS type of a game, because this is like an RTS RPG, having 6 maps is a really weak number, considering the fact, for example, okay, maybe StarCraft is much bigger game, like tons bigger, but it has like, I don't know, 100 maps or something like this, so the difference is really in there. And also when I look at it, I kind of feel like this delt is a little bit too close. It should be like in here. So I should like smooth it out. Yeah, I feel it looks a bit better now. So now I will try to find if I do have the demon in the original state. So let me open up the let me check if I do have the original file, and I will wrap up the stream in here. But let me just give me a minute to see how we progressed today. With everything. Oh, I managed to connect it with this layer too. Apparently. Okay, let's turn off the Wei-Wang. Yeah, so from before I have the file. Now let me download it. Well, let me overlay it so we will be able to see it a bit better. So this is how it was. This is how it is. I do feel it is an improvement. I still do think like fuckload of work is still ahead of me with this for this guy. And even compared to like this thing, it's relatively nice. Of course, nowhere near this quality of a render. I have no idea how to achieve something like this. This is like crazy. It should be illegal. But well, yeah. Well, I think this is an improvement. I do think the midsection area should be a bit brighter though. Not much, but a bit. Looking at the miniature now. This arm in here. Forearm. And yeah, I guess I will detach the wings and I will try to redo them because I don't really like them as I'm looking at this one now. But definitely I do like how the demon looks like much more now. So I feel this line should be a bit more like in here. So yeah. Yeah, so this will pretty much be all for today. Thanks everybody for coming in and for like being in the stream. And yeah, maybe to the Monday, maybe to the Wednesday, we shall see each other again. And yeah, hope you learned something new. Hope it was like somehow fun and informative for you. So this will be like, this is all. And yeah, thanks for watching and see ya to the next time.